Have you ever wondered why humans kiss? Not why couples kiss, not why people kiss in movies, but why anyone ever thought putting two mouths together was a good idea. Think about it. If an alien landed on Earth and watched two humans kissing for the first time, what would it see? Two people pressing their lips together, closing their eyes, exchanging millions of bacteria, and somehow calling it romance. Objectively, that's weird. So weird, in fact, that scientists have spent decades trying to answer a question that almost nobody asks. Why does kissing even exist? Because evolution doesn't usually keep useless behaviors around. Every instinct you have, fear, hunger, curiosity, love, they're all expensive. Your brain consumes about 20% of your body's energy, and evolution is incredibly selective about where that energy goes. If something survives for millions of years, chances are, it gave our ancestors a serious advantage, which raises an uncomfortable possibility. What if kissing isn't really about love at all? What if your most romantic moment is actually an ancient biological test your brain is secretly running? To understand that, we have to travel back long before dating apps, long before flowers, long before language itself, back to a time when survival mattered more than romance. Imagine you're one of the very first humans. There's no medicine, no hospitals, no DNA tests. Choosing the wrong partner doesn't mean a bad relationship. It could mean your children don't survive. It could mean you don't survive. So how could your brain possibly figure out whether the person standing in front of you is healthy, compatible, or even worth trusting? Surprisingly, the answer may have been hidden inside something as ordinary as saliva. But before we get there, there's an even stranger theory. Many evolutionary anthropologists believe kissing didn't begin as romance. It began as feeding. Sounds ridiculous until you realize humans weren't the only species doing it. Birds regularly feed their chicks by transferring food directly from mouth to mouth. Chimpanzees and bonobos, the closest living relatives we have, also show mouth-to-mouth food sharing and affectionate mouth contact. And for thousands of years, humans did something similar. Long before supermarkets, long before baby food, parents often chewed food first and then transferred it directly into a baby's mouth. Today, many people find that uncomfortable. But for most of human history, it was one of the safest ways to feed infants. The food became softer, easier to digest, and even started breaking down before it reached the baby's stomach because adult saliva already contains digestive enzymes. In other words, one of humanity's oldest acts of care looks surprisingly similar to a kiss. Now think about what that means. From the very beginning of life, your brain associated another person's face, their breath, their lips, with safety, warmth, food, protection. Long before babies understand words, they understand touch, which means our relationship with another person's mouth may have started as survival and only much later became romance. But then evolution did something fascinating. It took an old survival behavior and gave it an entirely new purpose, because your mouth doesn't just transfer food, it also transfers information. Every kiss contains millions of bacteria, thousands of proteins, hormones, chemical signals, even tiny clues about another person's immune system. Without realizing it, your brain may be gathering data every single time you kiss someone. Think of it as nature's oldest background check. Scientists studying attraction have found that smell and taste influence romantic decisions far more than we consciously realize. Humans possess genes called the major histocompatibility complex, or MHC. These genes help your immune system recognize disease. Interestingly, research suggests many people are naturally attracted to partners whose MHC genes are different from their own. Why? Because children born from genetically different immune systems often inherit stronger disease resistance. Your brain isn't calculating genetics with a spreadsheet. Instead, it may be using chemical signals carried through scent, breath, and yes, even saliva. Suddenly, a kiss isn't just emotional anymore. It's biological. It's your nervous system quietly asking a question you never even hear. Would our children survive? And if that's true, then love may begin much earlier than we ever imagined. Not in the heart, not even in the brain, but on the lips. But if kissing is really a biological test, why does it feel so incredibly good? After all, evolution doesn't reward behaviors with pleasure unless they increase the chances of survival. Eating feels good because you need food. Sleeping feels good because your brain needs rest. So why would simply touching someone else's lips trigger one of the strongest emotional experiences humans can have? The answer lies inside your brain. The moment you kiss someone, thousands of nerve endings in your lips begin firing at once. In fact, your lips are among the most sensitive parts of your entire body. Every tiny movement, every change in pressure, every degree of warmth, your brain notices all of it. Within seconds, your nervous system releases a cocktail of chemicals: dopamine, the reward molecule; oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone; endorphins that reduce pain and create feelings of comfort. At the same time, stress hormones like cortisol begin to drop. Your heart starts beating faster, blood vessels expand, your pupils dilate. It's almost as if your entire body suddenly agrees on one thing: this person matters. But here's what's fascinating. Your brain isn't simply making you happy, it's making you remember. Because evolution doesn't reward useful behaviors, it makes you want to repeat them. Every enjoyable kiss strengthens neural pathways connecting that person with feelings of safety, pleasure, and comfort. Over time, attachment begins to form. But attachment isn't always logical. In fact, some of the most disturbing psychological experiments ever performed revealed something almost impossible to believe. Imagine you're a newborn monkey. You've just been separated from your real mother. Instead, you're placed inside a cage with two artificial mothers. One is made entirely of cold metal wire. She provides milk whenever you're hungry. The other is covered in soft cloth. She provides absolutely nothing. No food, no milk, nothing, except warmth. Which one would you choose? In the 1950s, psychologist Harlow asked exactly this question. Most scientists at the time believed babies loved their mothers simply because mothers provided food. It seemed obvious. Food equals survival. Survival creates attachment. But Harlow suspected something was missing, so he performed one of the most famous and most controversial experiments in psychology. The results shocked everyone. The baby monkeys visited the wire mother only long enough to drink milk, then immediately ran back to the soft cloth mother, sometimes spending over 17 hours a day clinging to something that couldn't feed them at all. When researchers introduced a frightening mechanical toy into the cage, the monkeys didn't run toward the source of food. They ran toward the source of comfort, the cloth mother. Warmth, not nourishment, turned out to be the foundation of attachment. For decades, people assumed survival creates love. Harlow's experiments suggested something much deeper. Love itself may actually help us survive. But the strangest part hadn't happened yet. Harlow wanted to know whether attachment could be broken, so he designed an even crueler experiment. He modified the soft cloth mother. Sometimes it suddenly blasted compressed air into the baby's face. Sometimes hidden spikes pushed the infant away. Imagine the confusion. The one thing you trust most suddenly hurts you. Logically, the baby monkeys should have abandoned her. Instead, they did the exact opposite. The frightened infants clung even tighter. The more uncertain the comfort became, the stronger the attachment appeared. It sounds completely irrational, yet psychologists have continued finding similar patterns in humans. People often become emotionally trapped in relationships that alternate between affection and rejection. One day they're loved, the next day they're ignored, then suddenly they're loved again. That unpredictability doesn't always weaken attachment. Sometimes it strengthens it. Why? Because uncertainty keeps the brain searching for answers. Every unexpected reward releases even more dopamine than a predictable one. It's the same principle used by slot machines. You don't keep pulling the lever because you always win. You keep pulling because you might win. Your brain becomes addicted, not to certainty, but to possibility. Now think about relationships. If someone's affection is completely predictable, your brain relaxes. But if their affection becomes unpredictable, your brain starts paying even more attention. You replay conversations, analyze every text message, wonder what changed. Without realizing it, you're investing more mental energy into that person than ever before.
This doesn't mean unhealthy relationships are good, far from it. It simply reveals something important about how human psychology works. Our brains evolved to solve uncertainty. Whenever information is incomplete, the brain keeps searching, keeps predicting, keeps hoping. And sometimes that endless search becomes what we mistake for love. Which raises an unsettling question. If uncertainty can strengthen attachment, then how do we ever know if we're truly in love or simply trapped inside one of evolution's oldest psychological survival mechanisms?